What's up, everybody? Marvel the Cross 316 back with another comic book flashback. Today we are looking at the Fantastic Four issue number 11. This issue came out in February of 1963, and today we are looking at the first appearance of the Impossible Man. He's a pretty unique villain. He's not really, I would say, a big villain to the Fantastic Four, but he's a pretty wacky villain to say nothing less. And so we'll be looking at the first appearance of the Impossible Man. Who the heck is the Impossible Man? He looks like an alien creature of some sort. So we'll be looking at that. We have two stories that we're going to be looking at today. The first story is going to kind of like it's going to be breaking the fourth wall in a way, kind of like how last issue was when we saw Stan Lee and Jack Kirby in last issue with the return of Doctor Doom, and how Jack Kirby and Stan Lee are basically in this comic book universe. They are the ones that create the comic book Fantastic Four comic books, and we start today's issue out right off the bat with a bunch of people in line to collect and buy this next issue of the Fantastic Four. And so this is again another story where Stanley and Jack Kirby are going to use this story to answer a lot of the fan letters that the people have been writing to Stan and Jack back in the day in 1963. And so they're going to use this first story to do that, and they're going to break the wall by using their own characters to do that. And so before we get started, today's issue is brought to you by Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, Dick Ayers, and Art Simek. So now let's go ahead and get started with today's issue. We have, like I said, they are in line waiting to get the next issue of the Fantastic Four, and we see that the Fantastic Four members see that people are so excited to get this latest issue of the Fantastic Four, and they're wanting to get a copy as well. They see a bunch of kids, and they're acting like they're members of the Fantastic Four, and we're going to see how the members of the Fantastic Four are going to surprise these kids by showing them that they are the real McCoys, that they are the real deal here by demonstrating a lot of their powers here to these little kids. I mean, these kids are just starstruck. You can just tell by the look of their faces here. And so we also see, despite this being the first appearance of the Impossible Man, this is also the first appearance of Willie Lumpkin. He is the mail carrier for the Fantastic Four. He makes his first appearance in this issue, and he basically delivers the mail to the Fantastic Four. And these are all the fan letters, and just a huge sack of fan letters that the Fantastic Four are going to be carrying for the or rather Lumpkin is carrying for the Fantastic Four. And so the Fantastic Four are going to be looking at these fan letters when they get back up to their room here. And so even Mr. Lumpkin says, "Hey, can I join the Fantastic Four?" And he said, "I can wiggle my ears." So there's a lot of comedy, a lot of great stuff in this issue. So we see that the thing, he's going to carry the big sack of letters, while Sue Storms, she uses her utility belt to open up the elevator door. So they return back to their room, and we see here that they're going to be reading some stuff. We see that the Yancey Street gang then are going to do another practical joke on the thing. You know that the Yancey Street gang is a pretty big rivals with the thing. They play a lot of practical jokes on the thing that adds a lot of comedy to this issue and other issues. If you read any of the Fantastic Four issues, we see that Reed Richards once again comes out with another formula, this time to see if this will change Ben Grimm back to his human form, and it's successful, and hopefully it'll stay permanent. We'll see if that comes to be here. We see that they are all congratulating him as he returns back to his normal self. We see that Johnny Storms is going to go out and have some fun. He's going to try his new TR4. He doesn't have time to read for now. And so one thing that the fans have been asking for in the past in 1963 is they want to know more information about the Fantastic Four. So Reed Richards and Ben Grimm, They basically give a little bit of a summary of how their days were in college. They both were roommates in college at State U. Ben Grimm, he was the football guy, and then Reed Richards, he was more of the big science geek. And so you have these two, and they might not. You might think, well, these guys aren't going to get along with each other, but they certainly did. We also learned that they fought in World War II together, and that Ben Grimm was the pilot, whereas Reed Richards, he was more of the underground kind of person. And we also learn that Reed Richards has had a crush on Sue since they were kids, and so they were actually neighbors. And we see that Sue still has some feelings for Namor, and she's trying to make her mind up as to whether she wants to go with Namor or Reed Richards here. We also see a little bit of a summary here of the origin of the Fantastic Four and how they gained their powers. If you want to learn more about that, you can go back and watch my review of Fantastic Four issue number 1. I have a playlist for every series that I'm doing. So far, I have one for the Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, Daredevil, X-Men, you name it, Batman. Just go on my you know, go on my channel and go under playlist, and you can find all the videos. I had them all categorized into playlists. So we see, like I said, the origin story of the Fantastic Four. You want to go back and look at that, go ahead. So now we return back to the present here, and we see that Sue Storms, this is one thing that Jack Kirby and Stan Lee wanted to get the fans. He's basically blasting the fans for this. Is that the fans really didn't like Sue Storms at this time? They thought that she didn't really play a big role in the stories. And we see that Reed Richards and Ben are actually reading some of the fan letters. And so Reed Richards basically tells the fans here that Sue Storm does play a major role in the past issues. I mean, she helped save the Fantastic Four from the Skrulls, from Doctor Doom in issue number 5. And so there's so much going on that Sue Storm is a key character to the Fantastic Four. There's no doubt about it. We see that then Ben Grimm turns back to the Thing here. So at least he was the Thing for quite some time. All of a sudden, while they're catching up on memories and stuff like that, we see here that they are alerted by Johnny Storms, and it looks like Johnny Storm is throwing a birthday party for none other than his sister Sue Storm, the Invisible Girl. So they all celebrate her birthday with eating birthday cake, and they end the issue here looking out the window, seeing that Willie Lumpkin is coming back to the FF headquarters to deliver more mail, more fan letters to the Fantastic Four. So that's how we end that issue. Pretty cool issue, how it broke the fourth wall and how Jack Kirby and Stan Lee were able to answer some of the questions that the fans had back in the day. So now let's get into the first appearance of the Impossible Man. And I have to say, once again, this is a unique villain. There's nothing quite like this villain, I have to say. So one thing right off the bat we need to know about the Impossible Man is that he can do anything that he wants. He's a visitor from the 10th galaxy. He's from the 10th galaxy. He is in fact an alien, and he has the power to shapeshift into anything that he desires. That's one of his powers, and we'll soon see what I mean here. Like he can change his entire body into a rocket ship. And so these bunch of hobos say, if you want to, eat, you need to go get some money, and you can do that by going to a bank. So that's what the Impossible Man is going to do. He goes to a bank, and this guy freaks out. He runs out, and we see that the Impossible Man then gathers up a bunch of stacks of greenbacks here, puts them in a sack here, and he's about to walk out of the bank when we see that the police stop him. And here's some of the power, like I said, that the Impossible Man has. He can shapeshift into anything that he desires. So he changes his entire body into this metal and bulletproof steel. And so the bullets are ricocheting off of his body. We see that the police get out of the way. nothing seems to stop the Impossible Man, and that's one thing we're going to have to focus on. We see that the police notify the Fantastic Four to come and settle this issue, so there's a lot of comedic stuff in this issue as well. I mean, this is a pretty fun issue. It's a lighthearted, doesn't take itself serious. It reminds me a lot of the cartoons that we see on TV today. Just pretty cool stuff. We see that the Impossible Man, he shows a little bit of his origin story, a little bit where he's from. We see that he comes from the pop-up planet, that's what it's called, and it's a pretty dangerous planet, and he's just coming to Earth because he wants to come here and stay here for a little vacation is all. That's all he wants to do, and he wants to meet some Earthlings and stuff. So that's exactly what his main mission is, and he's not taking himself serious. He's doing what he wants whenever he wants. We see that the Thing tries to, frighten him by threatening him, and he actually punches him, but then he can, again, change himself into a thorny, um, his head into like a bunch of thorns, so that didn't work out. Like, once again, this is the Impossible Man, he can do whatever he wants. He can change himself into a giant water balloon. It's just crazy stuff here. So how in the world is the Fantastic Four going to be able to stop this alien who can shapeshift into anything that he desires? So what we're going to see here is that nothing seems to get under the skin of the Impossible Man unless it's sheer boredom. And so what we're going to see here is while the Impossible Man is causing so much havoc throughout New York City, we see here that what Reed Richards, the brains of the Fantastic Four, are going to do is he says, you know what? Let's go back to the Fantastic Four headquarters and let's just ignore the Impossible Man. So that's exactly what we're going to see here. We see that the army even try to get involved, but what we see here is that Mr. Fantastic tells everybody, including the police, the government, and everybody, that they need to just ignore the Impossible Man. We see that the Impossible Man, one thing, he's like a child, even though that he's an alien. And so what the Fantastic Four are going to have to do to defeat the Impossible Man is to just ignore him. And so that's what we're going to see here. We see that all the Impossible Man wants to do is have fun, and he just wants to do whatever he wants. But if the Fantastic Four can just ignore him, as we see they're walking off, then it's going to get under the skin of the Impossible Man. So we see like he turns into a big old man of the sea, trying his best to get under the skin of the Fantastic Four. We see that he then walks away, and that's exactly what Mr. Fantastic wants. So as the days transpire here, one thing after another, he's trying to just mess up the TV crews. He's trying to crash planes, get involved in wrestling matches, anything he can do to see if he can get any attention. But as we see, by ignoring the Impossible Man, it actually works. And so what happens is that the Impossible Man gets so bored that he decides he's never going to return to the Earth again, and he's going to tell his other alien friends, the Papuans, that they should never come to Earth. And so we see that he's going to go to another planet to see if he can have fun at another planet. And so that is how the Fantastic Four beat the Impossible Man. We see that sheer boredom actually defeated the Impossible Man. So I hope you like this issue. It's something different. But next time, this is going to be pretty exciting news. We're going to see the Fantastic Four come up against the Hulk. That's right, the Fantastic Four versus the Hulk for the first time. Next issue, we're going to look at that issue coming up next. And so go ahead, give this video a like, comment down below what you liked about this issue, and I will see y'all next time.